Hi guys, so today we are talking about um, the control mechanisms of the cell cycle. So let's start with our vocab. We have growth factor, that is a broad group of proteins that stimulate cell division. Apoptosis is programmed cell death. Cancer is the most common name for a class of diseases that is categorized by uncontrolled cell division. Benign, specifically benign tumors, this is a tumor. It has no dangerous effect on the health, especially referring to the abnormal growth of cells that are not cancerous. Malignant is a cancerous tumor in which cells have broken away and spread to another part of the body, causing additional harm to the organism's death. Metastasized, this is the movement of malignant tumors. It's a spread by transferring of a disease-causing agent from the site of the disease to other parts of the body. And carcinogen is a substance that produces or promotes the development of cancer. The cell cycle's regulation is necessary for healthy organism growth and development. There are two types of factors that control and regulate the cell cycle. External factors, which come from outside of the cell, and internal factors that come from within the cell. The external factors are those that help regulate the cell cycle, including physical and chemical signs, like cell-to-cell contact or hormones. The release of these chemical signals tell other cells around them to grow, which is called a growth factor. This triggers cell division of cells around them. The internal factors are triggered whenever an external factor binds to the receptor on the surface of the cell. There are two different types of factors that are very important to cells. These are kinases and cyclins. Kinases control the cell cycle and are activated when a cyclin binds to the surface of its receptor. Apoptosis is considered programmed cell death. This occurs when an individual or an external signal activate genes to help produce self-destructive enzymes. In real life, apoptosis happens in embryos, human embryos to be exact, because human embryos, up until about the 13th week of development, sometimes into 20 weeks of development, have webbing between their fingers and toes. All embryos are swimming in amniotic fluid, it's a fluid. They're swimming in it, quite literally. So they have to have webbing to move through. Apoptosis occurs to get rid of that webbing before the baby is officially born at approximately 40 weeks. In cancer, cell division is uncontrolled. Cancer is defined as uncontrolled cell division. This arises when the regulation of the cell cycle is broken down. It can also continue to divide in the absence of any growth factor that is required for division. Cancer can form unorganized clumps called tumors. Benign tumors are non-cancerous, but they are still something that we need to worry about because it is a non-cancerous growth that is formed from the breakdown of control over the cell cycle. Malignant tumors are caused by cancer cells that have broken away from one area of the body and moved to another. The transfer is made through metastasized movement of the cancer cells from the original tumor to a new location. The most common type of metastasized cancer is metastatic breast cancer, and it's the movement of cancer from one part of the body to the breast. Cancer can be formed from regular cells that are normal and healthy, but they have suffered damage due to genes, mutations, or carcinogens. These genes help make proteins that are involved in the cell cycle regulation process, and when they are not made properly, uncontrolled cell division happens. This can also be caused by mutations in genes, something like an oncogene, which accelerates the cell cycle, and cell cycle breaks that slow down the cell cycle. Both of these types of mutations can be inherited. We also have carcinogens to worry about. These are those things that promote or produce cancer. The most common carcinogen most people think about is like tobacco. But air pollutants, viruses, the sun, these are all carcinogens around us every single day. Skin cancer is caused by damaging DNA damage from ultraviolet radiation from sunlight. That's why it is so important to wear an SPF. Even if it's a low SPF, you still want to wear something that's stopping the harmful UV light from the sun from entering your body. All of this just stops cancer from spreading or being created. There are two types of cancer treatment. The first is radiation. Radiation kills cancer cells and shrinks the size of tumors. It is localized, which means that the cell's DNA is damaged to the point that it can no longer divide. Radiation can also hurt healthy cells, but because it is regulated, we are isolating the part of the body that needs the treatment the most. The more common type is chemotherapy. Chemotherapy stops the metastasized movement of cancer throughout the body. It kills all actively dividing cells, which is why people who undergo chemotherapy lose their hair, their immune system weakens, their nails become brittle, because those are all parts of the body that the cells are actively dividing in quite regularly, as do cancer cells. So chemotherapy stops all of that cell division because it is systematic. It travels throughout the whole body. And it's known because it kills both healthy and dangerous cells, but it stops the movement of cancer from one part of the body to another. There is a set of famous cancer cells. These are called HeLa cells. These were originally obtained from a cervical cancer tumor and in Henrietta Lacks. Unfortunately, Henrietta Lacks did die during her procedure to have these cancer cells removed. She thought she was having treatment, but unfortunately, that's not quite what it was. Henrietta Lacks was an African American woman in 1951 who was suffering from cervical cancer. She went to a doctor to hopefully have her cancer treated, and unfortunately, he removed the cells and she did die during the operation. Her cells are still alive today. That line of cancerous cells is still being grown in culture and studied in labs across the world today. The saddest part about it is that Henrietta Lacks' family received almost nothing until recently from all of this cancer research, because she did not give permission to this doctor to take her cells. But because she died, she was not able to be compensated for all of this research that has been done to her cells.